The problem, not knowing where to hold on a map. There are so many spots you could hold, considering the choke points, or lack thereof, utilities like turrets, traps and armor lockers in the area, nearby enemy spawn points, so much to think about. But I know the best spots to hold on each map, so let's get started. Army Depot. There are 8 maps in KF3. We'll start by looking at Army Depot. The spot here is known as the Red Hallway. It is near the center of the map, raised up approaching the entrance. It has a turret facing the broken gate leading outside, a trader pod near the back of the hallway, plus a destructible barrel, along with a door opposite the trader pod. To make this spot work, have 3 people cover the broken gate leading in, with at least 2 other people covering the door and the opening at the back of the corridor. A medic can support each way and provide additional firepower where needed, making this spot to be overall easy to hold down. City Streets. Moving on to City Streets, the spot here is in Parkview Tower, just off the main street on this map. There is a turret just outside the building, facing the main spawn point, along with a destructible barrel and a zip line. There is an armor locker in the main hall and a trader pod off to the other side. To make this spot work, have most of the team watching the main spawn point outside the building, where the turret is facing, with a few people watching the corridors to the left and right, when facing inside the building, as well as having them look out for crawlers that can crawl down from the high spawn points up above inside the building. Overall, this spot is also fairly easy to hold down. R&D Lab. Moving on to R&D Lab, the spot here is in the Testing 02 area, down below where there are ZEDs in testing chambers. A turret is right outside this spot and an armor locker is in the corridor where you'll be holding. There's also a trader pod to the back of this spot. To make this spot work, have everyone towards the front in parallel with the armor locker, then only one team member might have to get any small ZEDs that might spawn behind, but most of them will be coming down from the broken glass in front of you, the broken glass to the left, the doorway just to the right, and the doorway to the left of the broken glass immediately in front of you. If you get overwhelmed, you can escape round the back, going past the trader pod. Overall, this spot is fairly easy to hold down with proper crowd control. Radar Station. Moving on to Radar Station, the spot here is at the top of the old radar tower, towards the center and back of the map. The only utility of note here is an armor locker, just to the left after reaching the top of the stairs. To make this spot work, have most people watching the stairs coming up, with 1 or 2 people watching over the railing at the top of the stairs and or the gap at the end of this walkway, which ZEDs can jump to from the unreachable platform to get to the team. This spot can lead to some tense moments. An escape route is available though, but is overall quite straightforward to hold down. Horzine Factory. Moving on to Horzine Factory, the spot here is in the connection corridor between the control room and the foundry. The only utility item of note here is a trader pod, closer to the foundry access point to this corridor. To make this spot work, have even numbers of players watching both access points to this corridor, along with the Z spawn over some debris opposite the trader pod, plus a vent within the corridor that small Zeds can spawn from. Overall, this spot is quite easy to hold down, with 2 ways to escape. Convoy. Moving on to Convoy, the spot here is known as the tunnel, between the communication tower and the road leading elsewhere. There are 2 turrets, one not too far outside the tunnel leading to the tower, and one within the tunnel facing down the road leading elsewhere. There is an oil tank just outside the tunnel on the elsewhere road side, which can be blown up, and an armor locker just inside the tunnel on the way leading towards the tower. To make this spot work, have an even split of people covering the tunnel at both ends, whilst also paying attention to the vent of the ceiling of the tunnel, which crawlers can spawn from, along with another access vent towards the elsewhere road side of the tunnel, just behind the turret, that clots and cysts can spawn from. Overall, this spot is fairly easy to hold down, with escape routes outside either end of the tunnel, including a zip line at the elsewhere road end. Offices. Moving on to offices, The spot here is in the Chimera test chamber room. There is a turret facing the broken wall leading outside, an armor locker under the raised full back spot, and a door that can be opened with a multi-tool, but is to remain shut for this spot to work. To make this spot work, have most of the team watching the corridor from the left when facing the locked door, with a team member or two watching the way up to the center raised area from the right when facing the locked door, as sometimes Zeds like to go that way / can spawn out of sight of players. A medic can stay in the center raised full back area, but players should watch out for husks dropping down from the broken windows above the raised area, with crawlers also spawning in spots around the outside of the test chamber to watch out for. There are quite a few escape routes out of this room, including the locked door in the center raised full back area. Overall, this spot is not too difficult to hold down. Sewers. Lastly, we will move on to sewers. The spot here is at the edge of the map that is overgrown on the outside of player access with alien-like flora and fauna, including tentacles, roots, and branches. There is a turret just outside of this area, with a door to control access, and one inside the area, along with 3 destructible barrels, one being near the trader pod in the area, one being in the center of the area, and one being on the other edge of the area. There is also a zipline and destructible walls like this one that large Zeds can break through. To make this spot work, have most of the team standing just before the ramp leading from where Zeds spawn on that side, in parallel with the trader pod, to watch that area, whilst also watching the door to the right of the trader pod. Other team members should watch the area across the railings, the stairs leading down at the end of the area, and the ramp that leads to the area the zipline takes you to, all of which have spawns for Zeds at or near those key locations. As long as all these areas are accounted for, this spot is not too hard to hold down. Now you know where to hold the Zeds on these maps. There are some critical teamwork mistakes that I run into all too often. You can click on this video right here to see my solutions to those mistakes. Until next time, goodbye for now.